Hey guys, what's up? So it's been a quick minute since I've done an update. My last one was the second trimester update, and we are now in the third trimester. I will be 38 weeks tomorrow, and I cannot believe it. Also, don't mind the hair. I'm at the point where I'm letting it grow out, and so I don't really know what's happening today, but whatever, we'll make it work. But anyways, the third trimester, I cannot believe we are here. The second trimester kind of flew by, third trimester flew by, and so I'm getting induced August 2nd. It's 10 days away from today, and I'm just like, mind is blown that he is almost here. Also do a belly bump for you guys update because there is a big belly bump now. I am officially at the level of done being pregnant. 100% tired, miserable, don't sleep at night just because I'm so uncomfortable. So yeah, insulin resistant for sure. It is getting better though. But I have my little notes like I have in every single one of my first trimester, second trimester, and my third trimester because I can't remember like anything. So the third trimester, according to this book, started at week 28. So if you guys remember from my second trimester update, I hadn't really gained any weight my first trimester or my second trimester. I started gaining a little bit more weight towards the end of the second trimester, but not a lot. Third trimester, that definitely changed. So at week 28, our church gave us a shower and it was super awesome, super cool. But these are the weeks that I started getting very insulin resistant. Before I got pregnant, my insulin to carb ratio was to 20, so 1 to 20. I am now at like 1 to 4 pretty much all day. And that is at week 38. It's 4 or 5. I'll double check before we get off of here. But definitely insulin resistance kicked in. And you guys know how controlled I am and how I don't like to go high and stay high constantly. It makes me very uncomfortable. I would try to exercise. I would try going up and down our steps, and nothing would get these sugars down. And it was just so aggravating. So high sugars, you guys know my high sugars aren't usually over 200. I've hit over 200 maybe 6, 7-ish times throughout the entire pregnancy. But usually my higher sugars are like 150 to like 195. And yeah, so we did have higher sugars. So that week I was just exhausted. I've had really bad nosebleeds this entire pregnancy. Also, if you guys were following me in my last video, my dog was attacked by 2 pit bulls in our neighborhood. He's doing so well. We had some scabs come off of him, so he's been fine now. I am pretty much healed for the most part. I'm pretty sure I'll have scarring right here where you can see like the dog scratch my elbows and my knees. But you know, it's my battle scars. I was protecting my kids and I still don't remember what happened. I'm pretty sure the pit bulls, when they came out of the garage, they knocked me over and that's how I ended up on the ground. But you know, just luckily everyone was safe. It could have been a lot worse. Baby's healthy, my dog's healthy, I'm good. So I'm healing, which is great. Okay, so week 29, I did gain 2 pounds. So if we go back to the first trimester video, I was a little overweight whenever I became pregnant. So I lost 10 pounds in the first trimester. So I'd only gained, to this day, I've only gained 7 pounds back. And that's at week 38. But the doctor wasn't concerned. So the heart rate was good, so 130. My sugars was more normal that week, mainly because I was really watching what I was eating because I wasn't moving a lot because I was very sore from the pit bull attack. I did start waddling and I had a craving of watermelon. So I've really loved watermelon throughout this pregnancy, which is good. Watermelon's pretty good for you. So that's good. Week 30, not sleeping well. My hips were hurting. I was having Braxton Hicks. During this week, I had a lower sugar of 51. That is not the lowest I've been this entire pregnancy. I've actually been in the 60s a lot during the pregnancy, but they say, you know, 60 to 70 is fine when you're in pregnancy. So that's been fine. 51, you definitely feel it, and you don't feel good. That's for sure. You know, backache, hunger, exhaustion. And the weird thing about my sugars was I never really had high fasting sugars. I had high night sugars, where my sugars would go from like, you know, the normal range. So you want to keep them, you know, around the 90 range while you're not eating your fasting sugars. And mine would go up to like the 140s, the 150s, the 160s at night. So mine was a little bit different. I would have high night sugars or just a little elevated, which could throw off my fasting in the morning. So sometimes I would wake up with a fasting of like 120, because I don't know about you guys, but being a diabetic, when my sugars are high going into the night, and obviously you're not moving at night, your sugars, like when I bolus at night, it did not want to come down. Like last night, I am almost 38 weeks pregnant, and it just did not want to come down. I bolused, I think, 3 times in the night throughout the night, and it just wasn't happening. So I was not tolerating carbs well at all compared to what I have. So week 31, he was 4 pounds and 11 ounces. I don't know if you guys know a lot about pregnancy or, you know, being diabetic, but they have to do a few things, which is called a BPP. I think it's biophysical profile. It's where they count his movements. You get about 30 minutes for him to do, I want to say it's 8 movements or something like that. And if he doesn't pass, at least this is where my maternal fetal medicine specialist, this is what they do. If they don't pass that BPP, they put you on the monitors, which is called a non-stress test in ST. So there was a few times throughout this pregnancy where I had to be on the non-stress test just to make sure that he was still moving, you know, good. His activity was good, checking contractions, so on and so forth. So that week he didn't pass his BPP, so they did put me on the NST monitors. By then I was pretty much going every single week to my MFM. So every Monday at 8 a.m. And then after the ultrasound, after talking with the doctor, they would send me to the diabetes educator. And then I would meet with them. They would upload my sugars, and then we would move from there. So that week, he was in the 81st percentile, but his belly was in the 98th. This kid's going to be a whopper, that's for sure. They did see some more sugar in my urine. So I have had this once throughout my pregnancy, and then I had it again in the 3rd trimester, which can all depend on diet. That's what they recommended to me, was to change my diet up a little bit, and then it should go back, you know, to normal. So same thing, nauseous, back pain, elevated sugars at night. Then we got closer to setting our induction date. Another thing, which was, out of breath. Another thing, I had my A1C tested. So I want to say the 1st trimester or the 2nd trimester, it was at a 4.9. This one, it did go up because I did get more insulin resistant, so it was a 5.3, but I have stayed within the below 6 range the entire pregnancy. So week 32, he passed his test, so he passed his BPP. They didn't have to put me on the monitors. My sugar started to level out more. I did have a trace, or a small, let's say it's a trace of ketones in my urine. If you don't know what ketones are, it's something with being diabetic. They weren't concerned about it because my sugars had been pretty leveled the entire time. They weren't over, 180, and it was only just a small trace of it. So they said they were just going to watch it and keep an eye on it. Okay, what else? Out of breath. Okay. One of the things too is I had placenta previa pretty much from like week 17-ish to week like 28-ish, something like that. At week 32, they did do another ultrasound, and they test for vascia or vasa previa. Basically, are there any vessels from the placenta that would be in the way of a vaginal delivery? So I didn't have that, so that's good. So the placenta previa that I had pretty much the entire pregnancy is completely resolved. Okay, week 33, I had cravings for strawberries. He passed his NST, so his non-stress test. My sugars were a lot better. They were more controlled. He was starting to drop, which is good. I've had really bad heartburn, so they did put me on Prilosec. It's the off-brand. It starts with the O. So I've been on Prilosec since probably week 33. Every morning, and do not forget to take it. So Prilosec, if you're pregnant and you have heartburn, take it. Week 34, he's 6 pounds and 3 ounces. His head and his belly was in the 98th percentile. So like I said, we've got a whopper on us. Overall, he was in the 85th percentile. Unfortunately, this week he didn't pass his BPP, so they had to put me on the monitors again. But once they got me on the monitors, he does not like that. And if you don't know what the monitors mean, they just strap 2 things to your belly. One is to monitor contractions. One is to monitor baby's heartbeat / activity, I think. And you can see that on the screen, and usually they'll tell you what it means too. So they had to put me on that, and they had to give me crackers because he was just not willing to cooperate. But once they gave me crackers, got him moving, he was totally fine. This week I actually got bruised from my pump site. So the entire pregnancy, I have had my pump on my stomach. I have Omnipod. I did ask the certified diabetes educator from the beginning, where do you put your pump while you're pregnant? Because your belly expands. Would that make you less insulin, giving yourself less insulin? And they said most people who have Omnipod usually have it on their stomach. So that's where I've went the entire pregnancy. It's been in different places, different sides, every single time. Also, I change my pump every other day. I do not leave it on for the total 3 days while pregnant with Omnipod. Okay, so then my sugars were back to normal. My blood pressure has been fantastic. This entire pregnancy has never once went high. It's been around the 109/60 range. So they've been very pleased with that. Okay, week 35 is when I started having more cravings. So I was craving B-dubs, Buffalo Wild Wings, some Chinese. I also got really bad leg cramps, and my sugars, because I was eating not as good, were more stubborn. Again, if you guys haven't watched my other 2 videos, I was on a carb limit of 150 carbs per day. Now there are times where I went over that and they completely understood, if I had family in town or something like that. But most of the time I stuck to 150 or less a day. I would have just randomly high sugars, and they go randomly low, and we just couldn't find that balance with my sugars of, where's that steady balance? Been having contractions. We set our induction date, which was awesome. They did up my insulin at night. So I used to be on, the first trimester, I was on like 0.45 at night. I am now on 0.80 at night, which is mind-blowing because that is definitely a lot more than what I've been on previously, and they might even up it again when I go back on Monday. He passed his BPP, which is great. Again, blood pressure was great as well. Like I said, my carb ratio is about at a 4 or a 5 around this time too. So every carb that I ate, it's 1 to 4 or 1 to 5. And my insulin rates are definitely a lot higher than what they were the last few trimesters. So week 36, we got my sugars back to normal. They were very pleased, especially my nightly sugars, which was great. So they started to give me papers about delivery at week 36. So at least where my doctors is at, they give you a sheet of paper. It'll have your name, what you're currently on, like your insulin rates, insulin to carb ratio, so on and so forth, what your basal rate is. And they told me if I go into delivery early to decrease my, do a temp basal on my Omnipod and decrease it by half. So if you're in labor, obviously your body is working at like doing a workout. So you don't want as much insulin because you definitely don't want to drop low while you're in labor because that just sounds terrible. So they started giving me those papers and they said to bring them back every week. They would shred them if they made different changes, and then I would always have that paper if we had to go into labor and delivery, if I were having contractions or if my water broke, so on and so forth. This week he did pass his BPP, so that was great. He passed his non-stress test at my OB. That was great. I was having contractions on the monitor, so my OB was like, oh, probably need to check you. I was not dilated. So she said, just keep an eye on it, make sure you're hydrated, which I drink water pretty much all the time. The day after that, we ended up going into labor and delivery because I was having contractions so frequently. Again, I wasn't dilated, so they sent me home. So basically, we've just been having contractions for the last couple of weeks now, on and off. So I've been trying to, rest. Now that I'm 38 weeks, trying to push it a little bit more so I can get him coming before I get induced. That's the goal, but I doubt it'll happen. Also, around this week, I had lower sugar. So my sugars were, back in the 60s and the 70s range. Nothing would bring them up. So I asked my diabetes educator, I was like, is that a sign that labor is coming? And she said, no, not necessarily. It's just, you're towards the end of your third trimester, and usually you're not as insulin resistant towards the end of the third trimester. And then, the last week, 37 weeks, so I'll be 38 tomorrow. His heart rate's good. They measured him around 7 pounds and 9 ounces. So still a big boy. He's still in the 86th percentile overall. They said he was very low and bound up like in a little ball. They did do an A1C check, and it did go up to 5.5, which 5.5 is still great. Still proud of it. While pregnant, I'm just really weird about my A1C. I wanted to stay below a range, but 5.5 was still great. We're still happy with that. He passed his non-stress test. I'm going to my maternal fetal specialist every Monday, my OB every Thursday until I have him. So my doctor said yesterday when I went to see her, my OB basically said she didn't know if I was going to make it to induction because I was having contractions so frequently lately. So we'll see. And then last night we had the fun experience of my sugar dropping to 48. I don't know if I overcarbed. I'm sure I probably did. With being so insulin resistant in the third trimester, I feel like guesstimating carbs was a lot harder essentially. So I would always overcarb just because I knew I'd go high. I think now that my sugars are normal, I overcarbed and then it just dropped. So I was nauseous. I was laying on the bathroom floor. I was very sick. I never threw up. But I had my husband get I don't know what it's called, but it's the nasal spray just in case you pass out. But my sugar was not coming up. So I was drinking a Sprite mainly because I was so nauseous. I was like, Sprite will settle your stomach. So, hush. So I was like, let's see if this raises it. Guys, I got almost through the entire Sprite, which Sprite in a bottle is like 55 carbs. I never drink that much carbs, especially if my sugar's low, just on like a soda or something like that. So I knew I'd probably spike in the night. I was prepared. But even after I got halfway through the Sprite, like I'm talking about, we were sitting there for like 30, 45 minutes. My sugar was still in the 40 to 50 range. It was, we're getting a package. And I have my front door open, so I think we're in the clear now. So they won't bark. So yeah, last night was not fun and my sugar was not coming up. So I basically just went to bed. And you guys know that if you've been following me for a while, my husband watches my sugars while he's awake, playing on his phone, watching YouTube videos, whatever. So he watched my sugar and it was fine. Like when I went to bed, it was at 112. My Dexcom was steady. Also, Dexcom's been more right this third trimester. I've also been putting it right here, which seems to be more accurate throughout the entire third trimester instead of back here. But yeah, and then like 3-ish hours later at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, my sugar skyrocketed to 190. I knew it was going to spike, but I was like, before I went to bed, I was like, oh man, this is great. It's not going to spike. Ended up spiking and pretty much staying high all night compared to what it has been. It didn't stay at 190 all night. It did come down to like 170 range. It also came down to the 120 range. It did go down to 110, but then I don't know why you're sleeping. I guess all the hormones and stuff, it shot it back up. Not super high to like the 130 range again. But that was my fun night last night. So hope that doesn't happen again because that was not fun. And again, like they don't care. Do you want to be in the video? They are concerned with low blood sugars, but as long as they aren't consistent, usually they're fine. So I know we'll probably definitely get a question about it on Monday. Hang on, Bubba. About what happened, and I'll just tell her. And you know, sometimes you just have that delay while pregnant, and it's not fun, but I mean, it definitely happens. But anyways, I'm getting induced on August 2nd, 10 days away. Kind of mind blowing. I'm trying to induce labor naturally. Lots of walking, trying to vacuum, get stuff down, nesting, anything I can do right now. That's what we're trying. But yeah, it's crazy that he'll be here very, very soon. I will keep my Dexcom on the entire process of delivery. They said to keep it on, but more than likely it'll be finger sticks in the hospital, which is fine. I have stocked up Contour neck strips. My certified diabetes educator did tell me to bring my own lancing device, which is like the finger pricker, because the one at the hospital isn't super comfortable and your fingers are just so used to your other one. So I'm going to be bringing that. I have that paper that they give me. Stop. I have that paper that they give me every single week. So I'll be using that as well, just to decrease my insulin by half by whenever I go into labor. Extra supplies, so I have extra Omnipods, extra Dexcom sensors, alcohol swabs, extra strips to test my sugar, all that information or all that supplies in case I go into labor, and it is already packed up in a bag. So if I need any of the diabetic supplies, we know where to put them. I will be training my husband. My husband knows somewhat of how to use Omnipod. He definitely knows how to use Dexcom, and he said he's going to definitely help with my sugars while being pregnant, but I will be in control. This video. I'm going to be in control of my sugars, but I'll keep you guys updated. I will do a delivery kind of update on how it does impact a type 1 diabetic, just to see if I go low or if I go high. It won't be for a while because we want to spend time with our babies. I want not babies. Spend time with our baby, let family meet them. Also, trying to get through postpartum. That's going to be fun. So, yeah, I'll let you guys know. I'll definitely keep notes. So if you are planning on getting pregnant, or if you are pregnant now and you're fixing to go through delivery, I'll post a video on it so you know at least how my experience was with my sugars. Not everyone's experience is going to be the same. So I don't expect your experience to be the same through the 3rd trimester, or the 2nd, or the 1st, like mine has been. But if you have any questions, leave them down below. I'd be happy to answer them. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Bye, guys. One thing I forgot was the bump update. So let me scoot back. All right. So this is baby boy. He's a big one. I do have my pump right here currently. They did tell me to keep my pump right through here when you're in delivery in case you do have to have a C-section. But this is baby boy. We are so excited to meet him. I cannot believe it. Not much longer. I'll keep you guys updated.